Hello. I would like to briefly talk about my thoughts on Jodie Whittaker, season 11, and why people need to just calm down. So, I have not been the biggest fan of season 11 or series 11. I have to make that distinction for what I'm going to bring up. Um, and it's not really a bad thing, though. I think that a lot of people they talk about season or series 11 as if it's just horrible. And yes, it's true, there's some places that the writing could improve. It's not really anything new that we haven't seen. It's not some like horrible thing like, oh no, this is the end of Doctor Who. No, I don't think so. There's a sort of okay, the only problem I have with the show before I get started is the aesthetics versus the cinematography. The cinematography on this new season is just beautiful. I love it to death. But when your camera quality goes up, the detail in your prosthetics must also go up, which I feel like hasn't happened. It feels kind of like they're from a kid's show, the villains. And that is actually kind of a fair assumption because the same production crew who did the monsters for Sarah Jane Adventures is doing them for Doctor Who. And that's not a bad thing. I love the Sarah Jane Adventures, and I wish that Liz Sladen hadn't passed away so that we could have gotten the end of season 5. But I just, that's something that bothers me just a little. And that the monsters all kind of look a little, I'm a monster, you know. Except for Rags. Anyway, getting back to my point. Lots of people said that the writing is not that good. And I would say, yeah. Because, okay, I'll ask that with the question. Was the writing for season 8 really good? Or was the writing for season 2 really actually that good? Or was, I feel like whenever Doctor Who changes, people need to give the new season grace. Because there's always going to be some missteps, because you're trying to find an entirely new persona for a show which has existed for 55 years. And of course, the best way to do that is just stick your foot out and just start tromping along until people tell you what's wrong. And I believe that's what Doctor Who's doing right now. Everybody's saying, this writing is horrible, it's all PC and everything's just going down the drain. No. What I believe that this series is doing is it's still trying to find itself. And that's why I believe that it is so imperative of them to have an active social media account. And they do, which makes me very happy because they're getting all the feedback from everybody. And if you have a problem with the show, they're going to read it because that oftentimes the loudest voices are the most negative ones. And also, they're going to see what people liked about it, and they're going to, when it comes to next season, really take into account what is going on with it. And they're going to take into account how can we put people's desires into the writing next season. Because it's a thing you can't test, really. Because she's a new doctor, you just have to make a bunch of stories and see if people like them. And when it continues, her stories will get better. Jodie Whittaker has always been a wonderful actress. And I think perhaps the only one which can take over from Peter Capaldi. I quite loved Capaldi. And although it is about time that a woman has taken the role, I feel like with Chibnall, it's kind of a bad time. Like, I love Peter Capaldi, but the right time to have a woman doctor would have been right after Matt Smith. Which is sad because Capaldi is my favorite doctor. For me to have to say that. But Moffat was rushed. That's really what it was. He didn't have any giant plans. He meant to leave with Matt Smith, but the anniversary special got him so busy and worked up that he had to start planning for the next season, and he just kind of got trapped in it, and then he got attached to Capaldi, and then he had to do Capaldi as well. So, that just was a lot. But I believe that if Moffat had intended to stay on longer, he probably would have introduced the female doctor himself. He was the one who kind of paved the road for it with Missy. But that's not the point to talk about whether the doctor should be a female or not. It doesn't matter. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is the quality of the writing of Series 11. And this reminds me very much of going back into the classic series and looking at Season 24. Because I'm going to do really brief. I've tried to do this 3 or 4 times on video, and it keeps being too long, so I'm going to really cut it down. Action-oriented doctor, Jon Pertwee, Christopher Eccleston, new revamp of the show, very popular, and then they change into everybody's favorite, Tom Baker, David Tennant, and then they're followed up by the one who's way too young. Then they're followed up by the one who's way too abrasive, which is what a lot of people say, but then people grow to love. And then they come to the era of the show, which is pantomime, which feels over-exaggerated yet somehow underwhelming. And that is what Sylvester McCoy's Season 24 was. Granted, there is a very big difference, seeing that Season 24 had 4 months of pre-production, and everything was super last minute, because John Nathan Turner thought he was getting let off from Doctor Who. With Chibnall, this is his first go, and he's premeditated this an awful lot. But regardless of whether or not they had more time to prepare, it is very evident that the same thing applies for pretty much every single time that the Doctor has a new season. A new Doctor has a season. They don't know what direction the show is going at that point. They're just making it. And the fans are the people who decide what direction it's going. They wait for the fans' feedback. And that is why the internet is definitely going to have a positive impact on this new season of Doctor Who. It took Sylvester McCoy's era a little too long to get, really good. But once it did, it was evident that they were listening to the fans, but all they had back then was mail, phone calls. And now we have the internet. And that's why I think it's really, really much healthier correspondence with the fans. So, Series 24, the classic series, was not really good at all. But Series 25, Series 26 had Remembrance of the Daleks, Greatest Show in the Galaxy, Battlefield, Ghostlight, Survival, all of those incredible episodes, which did shorten their runtime, so if that does happen next year, it really shouldn't bother any of us. So, if history is repeating itself, except for this time Doctor Who won't get canceled. If history is repeating itself this time, then we shouldn't really worry, because Doctor Who's just going to get better. We just need to say what we think is wrong. We don't need to panic. We don't need to say, Doctor Who was much better. No, because it doesn't know what it is yet. Give it time. Give it patience. It's good, but also on the flip side, it's not the greatest thing ever. Everybody who's saying, oh man, this is the best season of Doctor Who ever, it really isn't, which makes us excited for the next few seasons, because they're just going to get better. It's a trend that we've seen with every single Doctor, except for Colin Baker, because of the production kind of messed him around. But it's just going to get better. So I can't wait.